Hello guys, this is Karthik from executeautomation.com and welcome to part 6 of our Understanding Mock video series. And in this part we're going to talk about matching arguments with mock. So before watching this part, I would request you to watch part 5 since this part will have some similarities from that part. Matching arguments. Matching or tracking arguments in mock is one way to see if the expected arguments is passed in the application under test or not. This feature will greatly help us to test the argument's value being passed to any given method, if it's correct or not. Since these values plays an important role in flow of our code execution. So using this particular feature of mock, we can test that if the argument value passed into that particular method is correct or not, so that we can control the flow of our execution and also perform the expected operation in our code. So for that, I'm going to flip to Visual Studio and show you a quick demonstration of how it works. So this is the same project which we worked in our last video of this video series. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make little changes in this code. And as you can see here, I have passed a mock personal details mock object into this particular employee's details class. And you can see that we have called the method from it and we performed an operation to see how many times the method is being called. But this time we're not going to deal with how many times the method is being called. Rather, we're going to check and see if the parameter we are passing is correct or not. But this time I'm not going to use this get higher grade employee option. Rather, I'm going to use another method called get employee's valid email address. So what this method basically does is it just gets an employee as an argument and checks if the address of this particular email is valid or not. And even this particular method is just checking to see if the particular method, if the email which is being passed has at execute automation or not. So you can actually see, go to the implementation and you can see that it's actually checking the contains the executeautomation.com or not. So that is the only checking being done into this particular method. It's pretty dummy, but still it just demonstrates our example very well. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pass into this particular method as employee dot email. That is what I'm doing. And I want to also make sure that I'm really passing the employee dot email in my argument, not something else, maybe a string or something like that. So that is my testing. So I want to test my argument which I'm passing in this particular is valid email method is of type employee dot email rather something else. So that is the only thing which I'm going to check in this particular contest. So what I'm going to do is, as you can see, this get employee valid email is actually accepting me to pass an employee information, and this code actually don't have an employee. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly delete this particular list of employees to maybe employee, and I'm going to delete these codes, and I'm going to bring this guy here, and let me quickly delete this as well. All right, there we go. So this is one employee. So I'll just take this, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pass this particular employee for this get employee valid email address method, right? And this time I'm going to test the argument. So this particular assert is not going to work out. So I'm going to delete that, and then I'm going to add verify, and I'm going to check if x dot is valid email, and we usually use this is dot it dot is any, but rather this time I'm going to use is of type string, and I know that this is will actually expect me to pass a function. So I'm going to say function of the function dot equals of employee dot the employee ID, comma, and it's expecting me to pass the string comparison. So string comparison dot culture ignore invariant culture ignore case. So I'm going to select that, and then I need to close a parenthesis as well. All right, that's it. So if we do this, this should be good. But one more thing which we need to do is we also need to do a setup operation for this particular is valid email. So this always accepts a string type. So I also need one more operation to do here. So x such that x dot, remember we already discussed about this setup method in our previous videos as well. So I'm just going to use this method to set it dot is any of string. All right, and now what we have did is, to recollect, we have tried to arrange our mock personal details, and we have passed that object to the employee details class, and we are trying to verify if the is valid email method is actually getting the employee dot email as the parameter or the argument into it rather than something else. That's what we're doing. And we also need to know that the value which we're passing is of type string. And that's why we are doing a setup here, and also we're checking it. So let me quickly run this. All right, and you can see that the rest got passed. So now, in order to test this and see if it fails, how to make it fail, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to this particular method. Instead of employee.email as the argument, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass something else, maybe kk at executeautomation.com. And then if I save it, and now if I try to run the same test, you can see that this time the method will fail, and also it will tell that it's expecting for a string type of employee.email, but rather this time it is passing kk at executeautomation.com, which is not the actual invocation, right? So this is how we can also make sure and ensure that the parameter which we are passing into a method is of valid type. So that's it, guys. Thank you very much for watching this video, and have a great day.